Okay, we're going to talk about today is inflammation. Literally everything living human being has got some kind of form of inflammation. You create waste every movement that you make. Sometimes that waste gets processed well out of your system, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it gets trapped between tissue, gets trapped between joints. Over time it creates an inflammatory condition, and also over time it can create destruction. Toxic waste that gets left in your connective tissue can literally it'll dissolve that pad between bone and bone, and which is, you hear about rheumatoid arthritis. That's a degeneration of the connective tissue between bone and bone. And now you've got not only do you have an inflammatory condition, but you've got a chronic pain condition too. So we're talking a little bit about some anti-inflammatories today. First, let's talk about the NSAID class of drugs. Non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs. Those would be aspirin, Advil, Tylenol. I'm not trying to pick anything on any of these because they work very well for immediate pain relief. How they work is at an injury site. Let's say you hurt your knee or your elbow. At the injury site, two enzymes are produced. They're called the COX enzymes, COX-1 and 2. One of them is the pain enzyme. That sends the message to your brain, hey, we got a problem down here, let's send something down here to fix it. The other one is the healing enzyme. Unfortunately, all this non-steroidal anti-inflammatory classes of drugs shut off both. So actually it inhibits the healing process when you take long-term Tylenol, Advil, and all those other kind of drugs. So really you're not helping your body heal itself. You're certainly getting rid of the pain because they're shutting off that COX enzyme, that's the pain enzyme, but you're not healing anything. So there are lots of other options that you can use from a pain standpoint. There's amino acid D-L-phenolphthalein that's been used as to address that pain. The one that seems to be the most popular for us these days is turmeric. And everybody's familiar with turmeric. There's tons of studies on turmeric for anti-inflammatory. They're studying it for cancer. They're studying it for a variety of modalities. The problem with turmeric is that your body doesn't really want to absorb it very well. Now here's the good thing about some of these herbal anti-inflammatories. They shut off the pain enzyme and they enhance the healing enzyme. And that, at the end of the day, that's really what you want to do. So we're kind of standing in front of a bunch of turmeric here, some boswellia, and some other herbs. There's three herbs that work extremely well together as anti-inflammatories. Bromelain, which is a pineapple enzyme. Boswellia, which is an Ayurvedic enzyme. Here's one, it's called Bosmed. It's an Ayurvedic herb from India. It's been used for centuries for pain and for inflammation. And turmeric. The active ingredient in turmeric, that yellow pigment turmeric, is called curcumin. So you want the highest levels of curcumin that you can get. However, one of the problems with turmeric, and we've got tons of them, one of the problems with turmeric is it doesn't want to really absorb very well. So the technology and the science, certainly as a trained herbalist, I like the herbs, but you have to, there's the scientist in me says, okay, what makes one better than another? And the research and that you're seeing coming out on especially on turmeric is, how can we get it absorbed faster? How can we get it to stay in the tissue longer and therefore do a better job? Well, there's a couple companies that have kind of breached and broken through on that kind of research. Terry Natural's got one called Curamed. Solgar's got one called Curamin, and this one actually claims on the label that it is 185 times better bioavailable than just plain old turmeric. So for my money, that's what I'm going with. I'm gonna go with one that is going to not only get in there better, but stay better. Bioavailability is better. So these are the ones we go to. On a continual daily basis, we have people asking me questions about pain, asking about turmeric. Some people may not want to spend the money for the research and the development of better bioavailability. Maybe they're their pain problems aren't chronic. Maybe they just have slight problems and they can get away with plain old turmeric. And a lot of people like and get success with plain turmeric. We're not trying to disparage that in any means. However, people who have chronic pain issues, whether it's in joints or what have you, they need the better absorption. They need the superior absorption. They need to have something that is more bioavailable for them to be able to last longer. You know, the big thing about some of these non-steroidal class of drugs, they compete with each other of how long that particular drug will last in the body. You know, mine, I have to take, you know, this one has to last 4 hours, mine lasts 12 hours. You know, that's the way it's going for some of these botanicals too. Some of these herbs is, how can we get it in there to stay longer and do a better job? So you'll see turmeric in all kinds of different, you'll see it for joints, knees and joints, nerves. You're seeing it for cardiovascular health too. So turmeric is kind of like, it's almost like garlic as far as being a magic herb. It does so much positive and more than one thing. So from an anti-inflammatory standpoint, I really like the Solgar one. Terry's Naturally, the Europharma is a really good one too. You can actually even get, we talked about Boswell, there's actually advanced strength Boswellia. Some people will take the plain old pineapple enzyme. You know, it helps from a digestive standpoint as well as from an anti-inflammatory standpoint. That's a good question, and it's really, from a dosing standpoint, I really pay attention too much to the instructions on the back of the box. I'm always going to start low. See, okay, if it says to do 3 a day, let's see what effect I have from 1 a day. And if they get all the way up to 3 and that seems to be fine for that particular individual, that's great. You may need twice that. It depends again on the individual, the body size, the body type. If we've got a 300-pound man versus a 120-pound woman, obviously the levels would be different, and you're just going to have to. It's kind of experimenting. It's just like they do in medicine. You know, they're not sure what the dose is going to be, what's going to be best for an individual, and they try one dose, and when you go back, they may have to lower it or raise it. So same thing with this, but you can do this yourself. There isn't any if you take a bunch of turmeric, there's no known toxicity levels that I've seen. Obviously, you don't want to eat the whole bottle at one sitting. You know, that just makes common sense. And as long as you use common sense when you're using botanicals and herbs like this, you're going to do just great. But we have people that will buy 2 and 3 bottles at a time because it works so well for them that they are afraid next time they come in, if it's out of stock or whatever, that they will be without. So they don't want to run out. So these work very, very well. We've had great success with any of these kind of things for pain and for joint health. These work fairly quick. You know, you'll feel, now whether you're going to have full motion and full range of motion right away, that may not be the case. But from a pain standpoint, like I said, they'll shut off the pain enzyme. It's using the healing enzyme to enhance and reduce the inflammation is the big thing. And usually they work very quickly. You can. Actually, there's even liquid forms, you know, turmeric gold, which is a liquid form that's meant to be taken by the tablespoon or what have you. And that's just pretty much with all. If you don't mind blending something up, but for example, B complex, that tastes really bad. And it's going to be hard to disguise a heavy dose B complex where it'll be palatable where you don't want to, you know, spit it out. But these, it's going to alter the flavor. But certainly fruit juices and so forth are pretty good disguiser. For those people, we have a general rule here that, especially for kids, you know, kids don't like the taste of certain supplements, and how do you disguise it? And peanut butter disguises about everything. You pull a capsule apart, mix up a peanut butter, it's hard to pick it up because peanuts are such a strong taste. Cottage cheese is another one, applesauce, that we use a lot for kids to be able to mix some things with. And those seem to be able to disguise it pretty well. Most of these comes in, you know, in a soft gel or a capsule. When you are buying these, couple things you really need to look at. One of them is the milligram. So I'm going to pick out this Terry Naturally Europharma as the manufacturer. So they've got a 250, they got a, excuse me, a 200 milligram. They got a 375 milligram. This is per capsule, and they got a 750. So the smaller doses are for, you know, for not the huge chronic problem or acute pain, discomfort, want some relief. The 750 milligram, the larger doses are going to be for, obviously, for more chronic issues. Okay, we're just talking about strengths and potencies, all right? So us as Americans, we always think more is better. So on the Solgar product, you look on the back of it, it says one liquid soft gel, 48 milligrams, okay? So you look, again, 185 times bioavailability. And you look over here, their highest potency one is 750 milligrams. All right, what you're thinking, if you look at the price, well, this one's so much better for the money than this one, I'm just going to buy this one. You can't always look at that. You have to look at the science as well that's involved with it. So, you know, this little amount can do so much more because it stays in the tissue so much longer and it gets there faster. And so this would be, these would probably be on par as far as cost-wise, even though this one is so much lower milligrammage, it does much more with that amount of milligrammage than someone that doesn't have as good of a product as far as absorption and retention.